Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good day. Um, this isn't my normal type of story I would do on my true crime, but after reading the story, I just felt this needs to get out there on the internet and for people to like and share and also subscribe to my channel. We all know since the spike in prices of cigarettes, then vapes turned out. And vapes are okay, a lot cheaper than smoking cigarettes. But when it comes to your children using vapes, it should be a no-no. Children as young as 11 are being buying vapes that are laced with the zombie drugs such as spice, and it can cause devastating health consequences on children. So my word of advice is if you've got a child that's under the age of 16 and you know damn well they're smoking, using vapes instead of cigarettes, stop your child from smoking the vape. Seek medical advice to get some patches that help them to come off the addiction from vapes. I vape myself, Um, I also gave up smoking proper cigarettes over 20 years ago. And then I sort of like smelt a few people's vapes that smelt nice and sweet and fruity. And unfortunately, I landed up using vapes, and I still use a vape now. But I do try and go for the nicotine free ones because otherwise it was pointless all that time and effort I went into giving up smoking. But vapes are so much cheaper than cigarettes, and you can buy a packet of cigarettes for how much is it? £14 now, I think, for a pack of 20. Yet for £8 on the internet, you can buy a 33k puff vape for like 8 or 9 quid. And you can buy cheaper vapes for say like 600 vapes for probably as little as £1. It is really pocket money. So if you can like and subscribe and share this video to get it out there, because this is really important. Children's lives are being put at danger because they're smoking vapes that are contaminated with spice. So I'll just read this story. I hope it scrolls as I'm scrolling, but I can't see it. So vapes are laced with the deadly zombie drug spice and are wreaking havoc in British schools in a multi-million pound trade fueled by social media, the Mail on Sunday can reveal. Pupils are collapsing in classrooms after smoking contaminated vapes, with children as young as 12 falling into comas. Now, that is just terrible. It really is. Children shouldn't, at that age, definitely shouldn't be smoking or using vapes. But I know everybody, children do it because it's a social thing. Their friends are doing it, so they want to copy their friends because they don't want to be seen as an outcast. I've got a school right opposite my front of my bungalow, and that's a secondary school, and I see children probably the same age using vapes, and parents that allow their children to smoke a vape, they should think again because the parent won't know if the vape contains spice. So it goes on to say up to a quarter of vapes are confiscated in secondary schools as parts of England are laced with spice, research shows. So this is, you know, um, widely spread. It's not just in one corner of England, it's all over England. And dare say it probably happens in other countries. The drug is said to be worse than heroin due to its crippling effects and addictive nature, has caused hundreds of deaths in the UK prisons. It's now flooding schools thanks to callous dealers who dupe the children into think they're buying cannabis. Well, children shouldn't be smoking cannabis or using cannabis in any way, shape, or form. Today, the MOS can reveal schools across the UK are on high alert for spice following a spike in hospital admissions after students have smoked contaminated vapes. Children as young as 11 are now making up to £400 a day dealing spice in school playgrounds after buying contaminated vapes over the internet and selling them on. Now, I would love a job that pays me £400 a day, like anyone would, or even £400 for a couple of days. But I definitely wouldn't sell contaminated vapes to anybody, even if they were adults. Even if I could make £400 a day, I still wouldn't sell it on, because if you cause the death of somebody because of a vape you sold them, you should be done for causing a death. It's murder. People are murdering your children every day. So you need to take, you know, a great deal, I don't know what the word, you need to take a great deal into this, and make sure your children are safe, because children are precious, you know, and we need to protect them with these scoundrels that are doing these things on social media. And I think it was Australia that banned under 16s having access to social media. And I think that should be the same all over the world. It should be an age on social media, because kids are addicted to TikTok. And the other day, school was kicking out, and I use a mobility scooter because I can't walk too far due to my medical issues and disabilities and bits and bobs. But as I was coming down this path, there was a school child that was glanced at his phone, and I could clearly hear it was TikTok he was on, and he didn't once look up to see, if there was anyone in his way, while he was scrolling on his phone. And I had to shout at him saying, "Watch out," because he was heading straight for me. And one day I'm sure I'm going to knock a kid off, knock a child over, because they're so engrossed on their phone. As soon as they come out of school, that's the first thing they want to do. They either want to smoke a vape or go on their phone. And while they're on their phone, they're not concerned about their surroundings. They're not tuned in to what's happening around them and that. And I've seen children, younger than probably age 11 using vapes. One TikTok account shows a brazen dealer advertising an estimated £1.8 million worth of spice in a single post. Now, TikTok and other social medias, anything to do with the name drugs or vapes, it should automatically be a ban. You shouldn't be able to do that. And I think the TikTok platform needs to permanently ban that person who's, selling these vapes, because it is illegal. That's why vapes are sold in shops and things. Spice is a nickname for a group of lab-made drugs that mimic the effects of cannabis, but are much more cheaper and more harmful. Spice can cause heart attacks, seizures, and hallucinations, often with fatal consequences. It is now spreading across the UK schools. Now, look at this schoolboy, Freddie Fenton. He was put into induced coma for 2 weeks, I believe, after smoking a Spice vape. And it took him, I think he stayed in hospital for another 2 months afterwards, and because he had to learn to walk and talk again. Now, no child of that age should go through that, and he's never going to touch a vape ever again, because, this is real, and that parents need to home it into their children, that they shouldn't smoke vapes. And if they do smoke vapes, they need to make sure it comes from a reputable place, because this is terrible. So there's Freddie with his dad with the 2 bottles that are obviously laced with spice. It says, Freddie, pictured here with his father, Peter Fenton, told the MOS that school toilets are filled with kids smoking spice. And they just show some spice packaging there. Research published by the University of Bath last year revealed that spice was found in 13% of vapes that were confiscated in 114 schools across 7 regions in England, rising to 25% in London and Lancashire. So if you're in those 2 areas, you need to make sure your child's not smoking vapes. And if you find them in their school bags or their pockets, because vapes can be really small, so they're easy to hide, you need to have stern words with your children and maybe show them this video, because it is harmful. They're putting their life at risk. And you imagine when it's school holidays and kids say, "Oh, I'm going out to play with so and so," they're probably not out playing anywhere. They're probably in, a bus shelter somewhere just smoking vapes, and, it's disgusting. It really is. A study found hundreds of online accounts advertising the THC vape liquid. The THC is an active ingredient in cannabis, but testing revealed about 70% of these accounts on TikTok were selling spice instead. You know, it's it's a horrible drug. It can do so much damage. I can't stress on that enough. Both THC and spice are illegal to process, supply, or produce, but teenagers are more likely to buy the vapes if they think it's THC because they see it as less harmful. Well, it's not. Once it's like smoking cigarettes. Once you have one cigarette, you're more likely going to carry on smoking. Both THC and spice are illegal. That's what I've just read out. For dealers, spice is more profitable because it's cheaper to make and far more addictive. One boy, Freddie Fenson, told the MOS he was just 12 when he suffered what teachers thought was an asthma attack. Within hours, he had collapsed and was taken to hospital, where he was put in an induced coma. It was only when he recovered later it became clear that it was spice he had. He was 11 when he tried his first vape with a friend, which told him it contained THC. Before long, he was selling his clothes to pay for more. Now, that's a young drug addict. And you see these drug addicts on the street that go stealing to pay for their drugs. And, children now are resorted to selling clothes, or maybe they're high brand trainers, to get hold of these vapes that are contaminated with spice. So they're going down a really dark path. I can't stress enough. These vapes are sweet flavored due to target children and are harder to keep out of schools than cannabis or cigarettes. Freddie told the MOS that it's discreet, it doesn't stink like weed, it's small as your finger, so you can hide it anywhere, and it was so easy for him to bring it into school. He said the school toilets are filled with kids smoking spice, and described one incident where a friend passed out in assembly. And just look at him. It's just terrible. It really is. Yeah, so he described that one instance where his friend passed out at school assembly. He was feeling dizzy and fell over, and then he was rushed to hospital. Freddie has said spice has ruined his childhood, and he is now warning other children not to smoke it. Well, I think really that Freddie should do a national campaign on it. The government should use him as a ambassador to warn children not to smoke vapes or buy vapes that are contaminated with what they think is THC and it's actually spice. So he needs to be an ambassador because children will learn from children. Children will take notice of another child who says, "Don't do this, look at me," that rather than an adult telling a child, saying, "Look at this picture, this is what could happen." So I want this liked and shared everywhere because it needs to get out there. Freddie, I need to put my glasses back on. Freddie, who attends a state school in Dagenham, East London, spent 2 weeks in a coma, followed by another 2 months in hospital, and he had to learn to walk and talk again. That's how bad this contaminated vape with spice ruined his life. He had to learn everything he already knew all over again at the age of 12. Freddie has said it basically ruined my childhood, and if I could tell kids my age, I would say, don't do it. It just takes one little bottle to end your life. Now, that's a stern statement in itself. And it's true, one little bottle could kill you. Pupils are even lacing the vapes themselves. And that's, it's just going from bad to worse. Freddie said he knows of an 11-year-old who stole £3,000 from his dad to buy instructions over the internet to make spice vapes. Now, that, stealing from your own parents is bad. And that amount of money is also very bad, just to buy some paper instructions on the internet to learn how to put spice into vapes. He said he's now making £400 a day selling them to school, to pupils in his year. And he doesn't go to school anymore because he makes so much money. Now, one problem there, a couple problems. The parents need to check if their child's going to school. I don't know how school operates now. If a child doesn't turn up, if the school contacts the parent. I know a lot of school stuff is now done on mobile phones. I've seen a friend who said her child's got an app where you can tell if they got a detention, etc. So it's getting more high tech to when I used to be at school, sort of like, I'm not saying how many years ago, it's too many years ago. And the school should also note, if a child's not going to school, they need to be more on this and find out why the child's not going to school and try and make the child go to school. Because, if your child doesn't attend school, I think you can actually be fined because of the child absence, and to make £400 a day in selling vapes that are laced with spice is, well, it's mind-boggling. And what's the next step after spice? There's going to be other drugs that can do just so much more damage to children than spice. I mean, I've seen videos online where people have had spice and they're like planks, they're just like zombies. They really are. And it's something I would never take. Professor Chris Pudney, who led the Bath study, said international drug gangs are organizing themselves via the world's most popular online platforms, such as TikTok and other social media sites, de facto shop fronts for multi-million-pound sale of drugs. This is where the age limit for TikTok and Facebook should come into thing. It should be a ban for anyone under a set age to be able to access these social media sites. And I know TikTok is really famous with the young children. At least 60 UK dealers are using TikTok to advertise an estimated £20 million worth of spice. That's unbelievable. TikTok should get their game up and stop the sale of these, and that you shouldn't be able to buy vapes on TikTok. I know the TikTok sells a lot of stuff, but vapes, you shouldn't be able to sell it. Mind you, I have shopped on TikTok, but I've never seen vapes on sale on TikTok. So, it is a multi-million-pound business, but a very, very bad business and a very dangerous business as well. TikTok said its guidelines makes clear that promoting illegal drugs is not permitted on its platform and had removed accounts flagged up by this newspaper. Now, why on earth did it take TikTok to ban or remove these accounts because of a newspaper report? TikTok should have already been doing this, and TikTok need to keep an eye on viewers and sellers on TikTok to stop this and that, because it's bad. It's just going from bad to worse. It really is. Campaigners want Ofcom to use the powers under the Online Safety Act to force social media firms to permanently remove any illegal content. Well, they should have been doing that already. I'll just see if it says anything more, because it said read more. So while I'm looking for this, if you can like and share this post, because it needs to get out there. No, there's nothing more on it. So let's just go back to his picture. I don't think it was showing you the pictures actually, so I do apologize. I will just quickly save some pictures because I thought it was showing you the pictures. So to get you an idea of what happened to this lad, I'll just quickly bring it up now for you to see a picture. Because unfortunately, when I'm doing something, I can't see what you can see. Files, image file. Let's go to my pictures. And you see this little boy. I do apologize that you didn't see it in the first hand. Where's it gone? I can't remember where it said it was saving it to. Perhaps it's downloads. No, documents. A minute, let me just download this file again. Oh, go away, computer. Right, let me save it as pictures. Save as. Oh, that's why, because it didn't do it as JPEG. That's why I couldn't find it. So I'll just bring you Freddie Benson, I think it was, his picture of him in hospital when he was in a coma. There we go. Look at him. It is really terrible. I should have realized that it wasn't showing you pictures. I'll see if I can get any more pictures quickly to show you. No, that is basically the main picture. And so we need to stop this. And I think the government need to do a lot more as well to stop it, because it's just totally disgusting. And children's lives are in danger and are being put at risk, and children are dying. I can't stress that enough. So if you, like I said again, if you got a child that smokes vapes, please be aware that the vape they are smoking could be contaminated with spice. And it's in near enough every school. And so, it's only going to get worse. And the government needs to do things to stop this. And parents need to do something to stop this as well. I'm lucky I got no young children that are using vapes. All my children are sort of like 28, 26 now and higher. But this needs to get out there because it is really bad. And unless we can share it to thousands of places and thousands of people, it's not going to stop. It's going to go on, and it's going to get far worse. And a lot more children will lose their lives to this. So that's all I'm going to say on this, because I can keep on repeating myself over and over again how people shouldn't be using vapes, and especially children, not so much for adults because we're a bit more responsible, but children don't know. And I hope the government can take Freddie on to be like an ambassador, like on TV adverts, things like that, for Freddie to just say what happened to him. And I'm sure other children will take notice of Freddie more than an adult telling the children what not to do. Because I know when I was younger, my mum would tell me not to do something. That would make me more adamant to do it. If she told me not to go out, I'd creep out my bedroom and shimmer down the drain pipe to go out, and she would never know. Except for one night I got caught out because she actually locked the doors and I had to sit on the doorstep all night. But, it's not funny with this topic. It is serious, and it's just widespread. And, until you read things like this, you don't know how many children it's affecting. And now from future, if I'm out and about and I see a young school child smoking a vape, it's going to make me wonder if they're smoking a normal vape or if they're smoking a vape that's, contaminated with spice. So please like and share this, and put your comments in the comment section, because I do read and reply to every single comment. So please put in the comment what you think and what the government should do. And I think there should be a petition on this, and Freddie should be made an ambassador, because it's his voice that's going to count at the end, because he had to learn to walk and talk again at the age of 12. And that's just ridiculous. So I'm signing off now. So see you on the next video, and I'm out. Bye.